Hey everybody, this is Perch. I want to ask a very pointed question, and it's one of those where you're going to need to dig deep, and I hate that term, by the way. What does that even mean? You're going to have to be honest with yourself on this because I think, so much history has happened. So much this has happened. This person said this, and this person said that, and then it's just we're in this entire giant, constant, nonsensical bullshit war all the time. You can always tell when I'm more irritated or passionate about something, like the cursing comes out early, but I'm going to throw it to you this way. And what I want you to do is you really be honest with yourself here. For several years now, there has been this kind of, I don't want to say fan revolt, but basically fan feedback, customer feedback that basically says, hey, we want great comic books. We want to enjoy the comics. We feel like we're getting substandard comics, lower quality comics. We feel like we're getting lectured in those comics. We feel like the publishers are manipulating things. They're doing reboots and relaunches and shady kind of practices where they promise one creative team, but then you get a different creative team, and you're like, hey, look at this awesome artist that we paid for issue number 1, but issue number 2, sorry, we've gone to somebody dramatically cheaper you've never heard of that just isn't ready for prime time, clearly. And that's, a customer anger about that, which running a shop, being in the shop, talking to other shop owners, talking to people who are retailers, there is absolutely customer fatigue around those things. Prices go up, quality of the art goes down, random people are there, constant events, constant rebooting, special anniversary issues. Hey, surprise, this issue of Deadpool's $10 for no apparent reason. We're celebrating something, but fork out your wallet, you bastards. Here you go. And that is exhausting the customers. It's making them very salty. Simultaneously, over on social media, the Twitter being the dumpster fire that it is, you have people kind of joking around, screwing up, screaming at customers, customers screaming back, all that kind of stuff that is inherent to social media. And one of the points I've tried to put across in these videos is social media is a trap. It's a terrible place to be. It encourages anger. You've heard creators, lots of creators now. Jeff Thorne, new writer of Green Lantern, Sean Murphy, Kari Andrews, many people have come on and they kind of all say the same thing, which is that activity, that screaming, that shouting on social media, it's not really productive to anything. At worst, it's actively driving away customers. At best, it's taking time away from you writing your best work. I would take it a step further and say social media also creates a weird little bubble where you're encouraged to think an idea that is half-baked is great, and you run with it. And what it really needed was more time. It really needed a little bit more, it needed more effort. But instead, it was shot out early because the social media bubble told you it was done, and it wasn't. But the question I have for you, and I think, I read all the comments. I see what people are saying. I see what is said on other channels. I see what's said on social media itself, on videos. I see what the creators are saying. I'm in Facebook groups with a number of different retailers and creators where I hear people bitching about the other side of this. What is it you want? I want good comics. I want a book I can pick up, enjoy, love, appreciate, like. I want to, what I think is great is not what everybody else thinks is going to be great, but I do think objectively that you can look at comics and say, hey, you know what? I didn't really care for Watchmen, but I can recognize that there was some skill put into there, and Dave Gibbons is doing some work, and that art style is not really for me, but I still see that it's there's a level of effort and quality there that might not appear in, I don't know, pick a random comic that was shot out, to tie into an event that nobody really cared about. There are differences. Yes, different things appeal to different people, sure. But at the end of the day, we want good comics, right? As a customer, you want a good comic. And here's the painful question, and this is where I want you to be honest with yourself. If you're getting an amazing comic, if you're picking up, it's the best comic you ever read. For me, Kraven's Last Hunt was an incredible comic. I loved it. I've done a retrospective on it. I think it's a absolutely One of the best Spider-Man stories. Just wonderful. Okay, I love that comic. I pick it up, I read it, I enjoy it. I've read it multiple times. J.M. DeMatteis is the writer. Mike Zeck is the artist. What if this book was coming out today, Craven's Last Hunt, right? Incredible. But, old JM is on Twitter saying, if you voted for Trump, fuck you. What if Mike Zeck was on Twitter saying, I hate everyone, and was just blocking all the customers? What if they were doing this? What if they were doing this, but the comic book was still awesome? Okay? What do you do? Do you still enjoy the comic? Because here's my question. What's important here? Is it good comics or is it social media behavior? If you had a comic that you loved, if you have a comic that you're picking up, you're enjoying, wow, this is amazing. But the creators were complete asshats on social media. Does it matter? Now, we can get into all the details of why it probably does matter. I think creators can turn people off of content if they're too abrasive and they always fight and all the rest. You can get a really good book and people won't like it. But how much power are we giving social media exactly? Why are we giving Twitter more power than the actual comic book? I'm playing a little bit of devil's advocate here. Please don't misunderstand what I say. I'm sure some people will. Don't misunderstand. I think people should be professional on Twitter. I think they should be nice to each other. I don't think they should be ass clowns on Twitter. I think they should not be dicks. I think you should absolutely try to have a professional demeanor and do things in the right way. You should do that. I think companies should enforce that. I think they should mentor people to do that. I think if people have no self-control, they should be, they should get off Twitter, or their managers, bosses, people who are signing their checks should get them off Twitter. I think all that stuff is true. However, why are we, comic consumers, customers, giving social media more power than the quality of the book? If the book is good, but the creator is insane, do we need to care about what they're doing on social media? Or do we just block them, get off social media ourselves, mute, whatever it happens to be, and then just enjoy the comic? If the comic sucks and the creator also is an asshole on social media, then that's strikeout right there. That's then you're just done. Then there's nothing, no redeemable value. Okay. Likewise, kind of the other direction. If the comic is absolutely terrible, but the creator is super nice on social media, does it matter? I mean, it might be good to be friends with that person on social media. It might be good to have a beer with that person and enjoy it, but you don't want to buy those comics, right? Why is social media dictating our consumer habits? It shouldn't. I think social media, if the person is so offensive that you just can't stomach buying that book, I get it. But I also then have to ask, just like we don't want social media to have so much power over the creators, why are we letting social media have so much power over the customers, over us? Why? It feels to me like everyone in this process, the creators and the customers, are giving Twitter or other random places. Jeffrey Thorne did Green Lantern. I like Green Lantern. I thought it was a good number one issue. I talked to other people who did as well. I think it was great. A couple months ago, Bleeding Cool runs this hit piece against Jeff Thorne that talking about how he hates Hal Jordan. If you actually go look at those tweets, or you listen to Jeff when he's been on this show many times, number one, he was joking by and large, which, you could argue you shouldn't joke about stuff like that. Sure, that's an interesting discussion to have. However, he was clearly still joking. And even in his comments, he didn't say, I hate this character, I hate white people, as what got reported in different places. He basically kind of said, I don't care for the character. The character doesn't interest me. That's a fine statement to have. There's nothing wrong with that statement. However, this hit piece that came out, and that's what it was, really kind of underlined, the new writer Green Lantern hates Hal Jordan, huh? What do you white people think about that, huh? Racism. That's the thing that they sparked, that they poked. And, why are we giving Twitter or Rich at Bleeding Cool or any of these other sources, why are we giving them more power than our own eyes and mind reading the actual comic? Why are we doing that? Again, please, people on social media should behave themselves. They should try and be productive and helpful, and they need to do that, and that's their responsibility. That's on them. But what's on you or me is, why in the fuck are we letting Twitter dictate whether we're going to enjoy a book or not? Why is the quality of the book somehow secondary to what's going on Twitter? That feels really screwed up. If Mike Zeck, during Craven's Last Hunt, was constantly just antagonizing and attacking people, I would still enjoy Craven's Last Hunt. It would take a lot for him, a lot of very personal attacks for him, to get me to hate the comic because I can't get Mike Zeck out of my mind. And frankly, the problem there is, whatever he was saying, but also my own mind. That's me admitting I'm letting this guy live rent-free in my head and just dictate what I enjoy based on something he's doing on the side. I'm going to say it for the third and final time because I know people are going to want to comment on this. None of this excuses that behavior. You shouldn't be doing that. You absolutely shouldn't. But at the same time, we also should be able to we should not be giving this much authority and power and strength to fucking Twitter. It's wrong. It's just hurting us at that point. It's hurting you, the consumer. I think that there's something really broken in that process where, I'm looking at reviews. I listened to the Zach's video on Green Lantern. I'm looking at some of the comments. So people are like, nope, he was an asshole on Twitter. And I get it. He shouldn't be. That's going to cost him some customers. I totally get it. At the same time, it's weird to me that Twitter is such a driving force in comics when it clearly is up to no good. When clearly every bit of evidence shows us that these social media platforms, they get richer by sparking and poking people attacking each other. They gain followers by deliberately driving antagonistic arguments and fights. Twitter does not want a peaceful place where everybody's agreeing. They would have long ago allowed you to edit tweets and do a number of different things. They wouldn't have posted this passive-aggressive, "You're blocked, bastard" message if they didn't want people to get agitated, get angry, and fight each other. Twitter knows, just like Facebook knows, just like all these sites know, just like Bleeding Cool and these news sites know, the angrier and more emotional you are, the more fighting you are, the more you're going to come back, the more you're going to create accounts, pay them money, and feed their platform. That's what they're after. So therefore, why are we playing into that? Why? Why don't we you got to take that stuff into consideration. People should absolutely have personal responsibility not to do that shit, 100%. But we should also have some personality, some personality. We should also have, I'm all agitated that I'm not even saying the right things now. We should also have some authority inside ourselves not to let these random things buffet us around. Everybody who's posting like, Jeff Thorne hates Hal Jordan. He hates white people. Everybody who's doing that is feeding Rich Johnson at Bleeding Cool. That's what you're doing. You are feeding that narrative. You read it, you bought into it, and now you're regurgitating it. You are helping him. You're not helping you. You're not, you're not in any kind of connection with the author of the book. Now, by the way, you could still dislike the book. That's fine. Everybody's going to dislike and like different things. Totally fine. But I'd rather for me anyway, I'd rather make that decision myself as opposed to letting Twitter make up my decision for me or some random news site. I'll say this at the end. People ask me all the time, like, hey, why don't you and Zach do some kind of show together? Well, number one, I don't think he has any interest. Number two, he has an ongoing channel. So what would even be, I've said this before, what would we talk about? I don't know. But I will say this particular topic would be the one that if I was to do some kind of interview conversation, it would be on this. because I think he represents a very different viewpoint on a lot of this stuff. Not different viewpoint, sorry, different background. He's been dealing with it from a different angle. That would be a fascinating discussion. I don't think it will ever happen, to be clear, but that's this. I think there's something powerful here in that we've elected to put more energy into social media and Twitter and that whole world than the actual quality of the comics themselves. And I think maybe it's going to take some surprising people talking to each other to maybe jolt us out of this. Because I go back to the very beginning, the complaints that I hear about in the shop, what I hear readers and customers dropping titles, it's too expensive, quality is down, this story feels like somebody's preaching at me. This character has been so warped and changed that I no longer recognize them and I have no interest. This has been rebooted for the 50th time. I'm not happy about coming into the shop expecting a $3.99 issue and being told it's $10. I'm tired of this issue getting interrupted by events constantly. These are the complaints I hear. Those are actual customer complaints. And almost to a man, a woman, whatever, to a person, it's, I want the comic to be better. If I had good quality, it's all I want. I'd pay more if I had good quality. That's all I want. Good stories. Cool. Is that true? Is it just good stories? Or do we also need the person to be good on social media? By the way, if you look in your heart and you say, yeah, I need the good social media behavior as well as the good comic, and if I don't get both, I'm not buying, that's fair. That's your decision. It's your wallet, your money, your choice. It's all on you. But let's kind of be honest about where it sits. And I guess the one ask I would have for you, if you find yourself wrapped up in this, if you find yourself often commenting on videos like, the person was an asshole on Twitter, they blocked me, all this kind of stuff, for your own well-being, think about like your dad is, I don't like putting myself in this old man role. Anyway, as a friend, ask yourself if you're giving Twitter too much control over you. Because I think that's what it wants to do. That's what it's built to do. It feels like that's what it's doing. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.